Good morning and welcome to CNN News 18. I am Ridhima Bhatnagar. It's D-Day. All eyes will be on Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman's Baikata as she will present the Union Budget for 2023 in just a few hours from now. Now remember, this is the last full budget before the general elections of 2024, which means the expectations and the wish lists are many. But the larger question is, can the government really present a populist budget? We are your one-stop destination for the Union Budget 2023. We will decode the expectations. We will also analyze of how much the Finance Minister can do, keeping the global economic situation in mind. Now let's understand what has really happened. The economic survey, which was tabled yesterday, presented an optimistic picture. Growth, which was pegged between 6.6 to 8%. The IMF, which also presented the Global Outlook report, has also pegged India to be the fastest growing economy despite the global slowdown. The economic survey has also confirmed that inflation is well within the RBI's target and indicators suggest a pre-pandemic growth as well. But with optimism also comes caution. The current account deficit has widened, which can impact the rupee and prices as well. So the question is, how does one really strike the perfect balance? We'll of course break down all those details for you, but as of now, we want to first begin by understanding where things stand as of now. So let's break down all those details for you in terms of where things stand currently. Now look at where exports stand. Exports saw 17.7% year-on-year increase. If you look at the growth which has been projected, a 6.9% growth has been projected by the World Bank. If you look at the GST collections for the month of December, they were up by 15%. But look at the rupee. That fell 10% against the dollar in 2022. It was actually one of the worst performing currencies by the time the year ended. Let's also talk to you about retail inflation. That has eased to about 5.7% in the month of December. Also look at another cautionary factors, which is unemployment. That rate stands at 7.3% in Jan 2023. So this is where things currently stand. We also want to break down the details in terms of what are the expectations, what we can really expect going forward by the Finance Minister. What are the demands? The demand is that there needs to be a hike as far as the spending in the health sector is concerned from about 2% of the GDP. The demand also is that hike the tax exemption limit to about 5 lakh. That really is the demand as far as the common man, the Aam Janta is concerned. Will that happen? We'll really have to see. Let's also talk to you about demands of various other sectors like the crypto sector. Now this is one sector that has really had not a good run with the government. The government has had their concerns as far as crypto is concerned. There the concern and the demands are that can you really rationalize to 30% tax? Remember, as I've been pointing out, the government has had their concerns with crypto because they do feel that possibly the numbers in India have been exaggerated with crypto. Possibly, you don't have a sense of stability. So can we really see all that framework come in? That's also one of the concerns. Let's also break down some other details in terms of where things stand and what are the kind of demands that are also being made. Now, as we've been pointing out, this is going to be not an easy budget for the Finance Minister because remember, this is the last full budget before the general elections of 2024. So how populist can the government really be? Remember, there are polls in about 9 states that are coming up. That will also be very crucial to watch out for. The challenge will be, how do you steer the growth and you create enough jobs as well? How do you tackle unemployment? And that is why we've been saying, can the budget really be populist or will it be pragmatic? Well, in a couple of hours, we will have the answer to that question of what really will happen when the Finance Minister presents the Union Budget for 2023. But now let's talk about what are the big expectations. As I said, because it is the last full budget before the general elections, which means there are a lot of expectations, there are a lot of wish lists. Let's first talk to you about the big 5 expectations. Of course, there are many, but we've tried to consolidate it into the top 5 expectations. The first is then you need to hike income tax exemption limit to 5 lakh. This is that one wish list that every common man from the middle class, the Aam Aadmi, has, that what is it in for us. The other big expectation is that can we really see a uniform tax of 15% for all corporate sectors? Will that really happen? That is something that we'll have to watch out for in the next couple of hours. Third big expectation is that we need to focus on unemployment. There needs to be job creation. Job creation to balance COVID-induced losses. Now, even though the economic survey is saying that we're out of what we had seen during the pandemic, but still the road to recovery is a long one. The other expectation is, and the focus now needs to be on the health sector, because we've seen the kind of importance it had during the pandemic. So can you really hike the health sector budget from 2% of the GDP to a lot more? The health sector, of course, is also expecting some sort of rationalization as far as the GST slabs are concerned. Then, increase the Prime Minister Kisan Samman Nidhi allocation. Is that something that we can again see? Well, as I said, in a couple of hours, we'll have the answer to all those questions. What will the Finance Minister really do when she presents that budget for 2023? Before I bring in my colleagues and our guests, we're getting some breaking developments coming in as well. Now, what we're understanding is that there is mega budget planning of the BJP. The BJP to hold a nationwide discussion is what we're understanding on the budget, and this will be from the 1st to the 12th of February. We're also understanding the BJP will run a nationwide campaign on the budget. Let me also now bring in my colleague Anshul, who is of course joining us. We'll be tracking various developments right through the day. Anshul, good morning. It's an early start for all of us. Before we get talking about the expectations, what is the plan and the itinerary for today, let's really begin with the developments that are already coming in, which is the mega budget planning by the BJP. What are the kind of details that you're picking up?
So yes, as you rightly mentioned, this is the last full budget that the BJP is going to present before the 2024 elections, and hence it becomes really very important for the BJP to make sure that it reaches the last person, and the impact of the budget also reaches the last person on the ground. And that is the reason why we are seeing that the top ministers of the BJP would be hitting the ground running today, and they will be making sure that there are sabhas that are held across the length and breadth of the country. In fact, in all the state capitals, at least 50 locations across the country, where massive sabhas will be held, in which the senior leaders of the BJP along with the workers of the BJP and who will then incarcerate the locals will actually go ahead and see the presentation of the budget, and the BJP will make sure that the budget, which is a very, very complicated thing for a layman to understand, because the kind of terms that are used in the budget, generally the layman doesn't understand the nitty-gritties of the budget, and that is the reason why such a massive campaign has been launched by the BJP to make sure that each and every person actually knows that what is in it for them in this entire budget. What are the things that are going to get expensive? What are the things that are going to get cheaper? Will there be any exemption in income tax? Because these are the few of the pertinent questions that the entire country is asking at this point in time, and also the manner in which the India INC is looking at this budget with very, very high hopes, because this is the budget that is coming at least 2 years that the India INC has seen the manner in which the pandemic has taken them back, and the road ahead from here on is definitely going to be something that would be paved right here from the national capital today itself. So yes, very, very interesting developments expected today, and it remains to be seen what comes out. But yes, the BJP is making sure that the entire population knows that what is in them for the budget, and it actually impacts their mind that the government is still thinking about them, and the government is still making sure that their lives are made easier by every passing day.
Right. Anshul, I'll just request you to stay on with us. Let's also bring in our colleague Arun Danta, who's also keeping a close eye on all those developments. Arun, good morning to you as well. Let's talk about what's the plan as far as the BJP is concerned. I believe you have the BJP chief who've now constituted a 9-member committee.
Well, that's right, Ridhima, which shows that this budget of Bharatiya Janata Party and the Modi government is going to be a populist one. Because remember that this is the last full budget before the 2024 general election, and therefore BJP is planning this massive campaign where a 9 committee members team have been formed, in which Sushil Modi, the former Deputy Chief Minister of Bihar, will be the convener. Now, the responsibility will be given to the central ministers and BJP-ruled state chief ministers, and where BJP not in power, the leader of opposition and the state chief will go and talk to people about the budget and how it is important for the people, this budget, and how this budget is going to help people. And therefore, the press conferences will be organized in different parts of the country. Essentially, BJP wants to penetrate in every nook and corner of the country. And in fact, in this regard, we are also told that in these press conferences, the economic experts, the experts from the finance sector will be part of because they have better sense and better idea about the budget, and therefore this will help people to understand. So one can say that people are expecting a populist budget, and therefore in advance this team has been formed which will go to public and talk about the benefits of this budget and how this is going to help them.
Okay. Arun, I'll request you to stay on with us. Let's also bring in our colleague Arunima, who's also been tracking these developments. Arunima, good morning to you as well. So Arun is saying there are all signs indicating now that this could be a populist budget. Any inside scoop that you're picking for us? Just a couple of hours to go before we have Finance Minister present the union budget.
Well, it will be a tough one for Nirmala Sitharaman. We have been discussing since yesterday how the economic survey projected growth is a bright spot if you see the world over. But if you see the previous years, it is definitely slowing down. So if your economy is slowing down and you are entering an election year, how do you balance the tough measures that you require to strengthen your economy with the populist measures that people are expecting, based on which perhaps their decision to press that EVM button will be taken? One thing that is on the mind of every taxpayer is whether there will be any relief for them as far as income tax is concerned. We have not seen any relief come in the last couple of budgets that Nirmala Sitharaman has presented. So this time around, people are watching out if there is anything in income tax. There is an outlook from the market as well. Opposition has been very critical of the president's speech because it had no mention of job creation. It has been very critical as far as inflation is concerned, even though the economic survey suggests that the inflation rates are within what the RBI projections are and hence manageable. That's a crucial area. Also, what is it that you're doing to strengthen the rupee? Its slide continues against the dollar. What is in store for our corporate sector? What is in store for our investors? What is in store for the energy sector as well? We've made our commitments as far as hydrocarbons are concerned. But what is it that you're giving? What push are you giving to the EVs, for example? So those are something that will be closely watched. And in the next 3 hours, we'll have the answers perhaps.
Oh, absolutely. Arun, I'll request you to stay on with us. Let's bring in Yash also in the conversation. Yash, in fact, will be at CIA for the rest of the day and will be getting us what the industry voices are expecting and how they're analyzing the union budget as well. Yash, good morning to you as well. I know it's still early in the day, but you've also been tracking the developments as far as the corporate voices are concerned. What are their top 5 expectations? What are they looking forward when the finance minister presents the union budget?
Well, a very good morning, Ridhima. Talking about the expectation, there are 2 ways to look at it. First, the corporates are hoping on consolidation by the Union Finance Minister on the previous promises made by this very government. And second, which happens every year, they are thinking about, will Union Minister pull out a rabbit out of the hat? In fact, if talking about the top priorities or the top expectation the corporate world have this time around for this very budget remains to be the very crucial remains to be unification of the corporate taxes, because this is a very demand which the corporate world has been raising for quite some time now. And in fact, they've been lamenting on one fact that the unified system of taxation when it comes to the corporate world will also promote the business growth and will simplify things for the corporate world, because we have to understand the corporate sector is one thing which is fueling the growth story of India right now. Talking about other expectation, in fact, the corporate world is also very optimistic about the growth story of the MSME world, because we have to understand due to the external reasons, what happened to the global supply chain. The corporates are hoping the inclusion of MSMEs so that the global supply chain issues could be rectified, and thereon certain more parameters could be actually alleged to fuel the growth story of India. In fact, so the corporate world is on the optimistic side, where they've been talking about ease in taxation.
Correct.
And in fact the fueling of MSME sectors and others, and in fact talking about the other major takeaways from the eco survey. It remains to be seen whether the fiscal consolidation will be on track, and in fact the corporates have been very optimistic about on that front as well.
True, absolutely. Yash, keep tracking those voices for us as the day progresses. I'll request all our colleagues to stay on with us. We'll continue to come back to you. At this point, I want to bring in our guests as well. We have Dr. Nalin Mehta, author of The New BJP, joining us here in our Noida studios. We also have Gaurav Chaudhary, consulting editor, Network 18 and co-founder and CEO of Earshot Media, again joining us here in our Noida studios. From Mumbai, we also have senior economist and author Gurcharan Das, who's also joining us. Good to have all of you on the broadcast bright and early here on CNN News 18. Nalin, I'd like to begin the conversation with you. Before we get analysing in terms of what the numbers are looking, are we on track as far as the recovery is concerned? Let's begin with the question that we like to begin with every single year. If you were the finance minister, what will be the top 5 things that you'll be focusing on this year?
I think the finance minister at the moment, if you look at the budget overall and the state of the economy, you've got the worst side behind you. The economy is stabilized. India's pretty much among the bright spots in the global economy. I think what you will be looking at is there's not that much fiscal space to do too many things. What I would watch out for in this budget is the political signaling in particular. What are the key segments it reaches out to, for example, on farmers? That would be one. I would be looking out at what it does to what the outlook on the middle classes is, because the last time major changes were made was about in 2017, 2018. You have a year and a half to go for the election, so the political signaling on that is going to be important, as well as the things on the overall infrastructural spending. Now that there's not that much space to do, but I think on the fiscal deficit as well, and given the state of we are entering a global slowdown, so I would look at those things fairly carefully.
Gaurav, quickly from you also, what are the kind of expectations that you're looking at from the finance minister?
Well, one of the surest ways to revive an economy is to put more money in the hands of the people. So I would expect the finance minister to do something on the individual income tax front. Please bear in mind that there are, at this point in time over the last 2 years, that there are 2 individual income tax structures, and one is without exemption, the other is with exemption. And there has been very few takers for the new structure, regime, which was announced in 2020. Although the government doesn't put out numbers, but what we understand that around
about 5 lakh is what I'm understanding.
That's right. So only very few people have opted for those. I think the government might as well actually, do away with the new system and bring in and continue with the older one, which comes with exemptions. So I think there's a lot of changes that are expected there. Probably the exemption limit could go up. Section 80C could go up from 2 lakh rupees. Those things will happen, and also the market will be keenly, expecting something to happen on the long-term capital gains taxation front. That's extremely complicated at this point in time, because there are too many assets, too many rates, and too many structures. So I think a standardization on that front is on expected lines. I would expect the finance minister to continue, in fact, probably accelerate the momentum on the capital expenditure, particularly infrastructure. And if the economic survey is any clue, I think that's going to get more and more pronounced in this budget. But the key thing to watch out for is what the finance minister says on long-term on the fiscal deficit front. And if it falls below 6.4% for this year, it's around 6.4%. I think that the government will probably demonstrate its intent to walk the talk on fiscal discipline, which has been the characteristic of this government. They have not always been taken in by demands of populism. But there could be a surprise.
And that's why we are saying, despite the fact that there are so many expectations of it being a populist budget, does the finance minister really have that kind of elbow room, especially in an election year, and keeping the global factors in mind? So those are some of the expectations. We have to slip into a very short break. When we come back, we analyze the numbers of the eco survey and what we can expect in the coming few hours. Stay with us here at CNN News 18.